Yo, what's up guys? Alex here from Elite Football Conditioning, and look at this. The ladders are back! Now, I wanted to bring these back because obviously I recorded a video the other week where I was going through the uses of them and how if you're training for speed, you should ditch them. So I want to go through a couple of things today. Number one is how you can use them, and number two, because I've had somebody reply to that video or comment on that video on how they totally disagree with me, I'm going to tell you how they're wrong. So very, very simple. Again, going through components of speed. Number one, acceleration. You've got to be able to work up to that top speed in the first place, and then keeping it ticking over and continuously maintaining that speed throughout. The different movement patterns are involved in that. So number one, not as to why you shouldn't necessarily use them for speed, but as to why they are not optimal for speed or practicing the components of them, is because when you're training for acceleration, these simply do not fit. I can't come up or create a drill in my head that will allow me to execute the same components and principles as getting my hip and shoulder angle correct, getting my knee angle right, and getting that foot drive and that stride length correct that fits into ladders. Because ladders are all about quick feet, low steps, and there are different ways that you can evolve the drills that you do. And I think this is possibly where coaches or athletes might even get mixed up with this, is ladders are all about kind of quickness, that low lift off of the foot, and then that ability to not have to travel very far with the foot to push off and change direction. So one of the drills that I do quite like to use them for, especially mainly at top end mechanics, is keeping your upper body posture correct and pretty much going through. You can either go through sort of like an A skip, or we can implement a dead leg drill where we're just aiming to cycle this foot and knee up and through, and keeping that ground contact point pretty much underneath the hip. So again, breaking down those components, we're looking at cycling that foot through. Hopefully you'll be able to see from here, looking at cycling that foot through, so coming down, picking up, literally like we're pedaling on a bike, so it's a very circular motion, and not buzzing straight up and down, which is where a lot of people go wrong on this. And also not reaching too far out in front, where if we do that on the field, that is a braking moment. It's going to slow us down and stop us in our tracks. So on these ladders, keep that foot contact close to the hip. If you were to start to stride out and almost do 2 rungs at a time, that's where you're going to be going wrong. So I wouldn't recommend using them for speed per se. Now here is how I would use them. I would definitely use them in warm-ups. They're great to get breathing rate up, heart rate up, practice that kind of foot, eye coordination, low ground contacts, lots of ground contacts, keeping you on the balls of your feet and keeping your head and shoulders forward so that you're in that position to effectively change direction at any given moment. And the other thing that they allow us to do is complete sort of low-level plyometric movements, whether you want to go 2-footed hops, single leg, if you want to add in kind of change of direction component into that as well to add a little more difficulty and complexity. They allow you to practice all kinds of different movement patterns, and again, keeping that foot lift off really low, which in field sports and in change of direction, where you've got other random things going on around you all the time, you have to have that. Because if you do what I was showing you before, if you do that high knee lift with that loaded ankle, it takes you longer to come up. So if I'm operating at this kind of height and that distance from the floor, as opposed to basically down here, the amount of time it takes to lift above that and then get back down through that range is going to be costly. So, and again, you'll never see people high stepping if they have to change direction. You automatically want to keep your feet lower and closer to the ground, and this little movement here, this 3-step shuffle, or Ricky shuffle as it's called, probably one of my favourite movements for kind of keeping that foot hip connection close and getting that change of direction from both sides. Really, really good for practicing balance, keeping all your movements coordinated. So that is how I would use them. Certainly wouldn't write them off, however, certainly would not be my port of call for training speed in the first place. The best way to train for speed and improve your sprinting and your top flight speed is to simply go out and sprint correctly with good technique, good form, and start applying more and more power. This, in fact, actually another really good use for it is actually to practice that deceleration. So if you were to, because it encourages you to get so many fast ground contacts in such a short space, if you're decelerating, having to put the brakes on, running your feet into the ground, dropping the height of your hips to then push off. We want lots of fast ground contacts. We want more contacts in a given distance so that we can put the brakes on hard. And again, we need that, to do that, we need that low foot lift off. Really good way to practice that. And take it away. Use them in your warm-ups. Use them to get the nervous system firing. Use them to get your heart rate up, breathing rate up. And like I say, balance, foot-eye coordination, various different postures. We can also throw in different tasks along the way. So whichever footwork pattern you're completing through the ladder, you could also be reading and keep, like, just to keep your head and your eyes up. If you've got a coach or someone at the end giving you thumbs up or numbers, shouting out just to keep your eyes on that. I've done this before where, if you want more football specific, you can be coming out, little touch of a ball, get a little volley, get loads of little contacts of a football in there. American football, one of the sports I use quite a lot, you can be doing your footwork through the ladders and having guys either side, punching at the ball, trying to rip at it, especially if you're a running back. Really good way to make it sport specific. They fit very nicely as part of your warm-ups and as part of your build-up into your main activity. So consider how you use them. There are very few bad exercises. I was going to say there are no bad exercises. That's simply not true. There are some terrible ones. A lot of it comes down to purpose and execution. Is it applicable for the person doing it? Is it actually doing what it's designed to do? For instance, if you're shoulder pressing on one leg like this, is it really working on ankle stability? Is it really prioritizing that? Is it the most efficient use of your time? To be determined, but think wisely about what you're using things for, and again, not primarily for speed for the reasons I have just mentioned there for you. So hopefully you found this video useful. Get using these ladders in your warm-up, watch some of the follow-up videos to this, and make sure you check out my Instagram highlights, because I will be putting in some videos of ladder drills that you can be performing for different footwork patterns, different purposes, just to change up your training, make it a bit more interesting, a bit more fun, and just prove to you that I am not against ladders. I'm not hating on them. I love them to bits. I use them a lot. There we go. We can all be friends again. Cheers guys, and I'll see you again soon. Be elite.